7 days a week.
High Power 102.7 FM, the voice that echoes through every home, every heart. From the streets to the studio, we'll bring you real talk, real music, and real moments. We are not just a station, we are a movement. High Power 102.7 FM, the pride of the people.
The time is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon. Here is iPower 102.7 FM Midday News. I am Florence Ibhareman. First, the headlines. INEC declares readiness for Ekiti Ondo off-season election. NBC loses appeal. On the foreign scene, U.S. Secretary insults NATO members. And in sports, Ghana defeats Panama. Details of these and more in a moment. Please stay tuned. Glad to have you back, and now the news and details starting from the home front. INEC has commenced the distribution of sensitive materials for Saturday's Ondo State Senatorial District by-election, assuring stakeholders of its readiness to conduct a credible and transparent poll. The exercise involved the deployment of ballot papers, result sheets, and other materials under the supervision of the electoral officials, security agencies, and political party representatives. The resident electoral commissioner in Ondo State, Mutiu Agboke, said all logistical arrangements had been concluded. That non-sensitive materials had earlier been distributed, while Beaver's machine for the election had been tested and certified fit for use. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it is fully prepared for the Ekiti State governorship election scheduled for June 20. The Representative Electoral Commissioner in Ekiti State, Dr. Bomi Omoshengdemi, said the non-sensitive electoral material had been deployed while personnel and had been adequately trained for the exercise. Omoshengdemi stated that the commission was only awaiting the arrival of sensitive materials and the conduct of the poll, adding that the Baumada Voters Accreditation System, Beaver's machine, were ready for use. He also assured that the arrangements had been made to support persons with disability, including provisions of the barrel material and targeted voter sensitization through civil society organization. The REC urged voters to participate fully and avoid the spread of fake news, stressing INEC's commitment to credible, transparent, and inclusive election. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has called on the people of the state to defend their democratic right ahead of the August 15 governorship election. Speaking at the official launch of his re-election campaign in Osogbo, Adeleke said residents should not allow themselves to be intimidated in the exercise of their voting right. The governor rejected violence and declared his readiness to protect the rights of the people, expressing confidence that his party Accord would remain on the ballot and emerge victorious. He urged supporters to mobilize voters across the state, insisting that the rule of law must prevail and that democracy must be protected. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has struck out an appeal filed by the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC), seeking to overturn a federal high court judgment restraining it from imposing fine on radio and television stations. In a unanimous decision delivered by Justice Jane Young, the court held that the notice of appeal was fundamentally defective due to a discrepancy in the name of the appellant. The court noted that while the case at the Federal High Court involved the National Broadcasting Commission, the notice of appeal identified the appellant as the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission. The appeal stemmed from a January 2024 judgment which followed a suit filed by Media Rights Agenda challenging the NBC's imposition of 5 million naira fine on a television station and 3 pay television platforms over documentary on insecurity in Zamfara State. You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM. Still to come on the foreign scene, U.S. Secretary insults NATO members. And in sport, Ghana defeats Panama.
Whether you're tuning in for breaking news, in-depth analysis, or community updates, Hyper 102.7 FM remains your most trusted source, because when it comes to news, the truth matters. Hyper FM 102.7.
Welcome back. To be a part of our program, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok at iPower 1027 FM. We are also on Radio Garden. Now to the foreign scene. Equatorial Guinea government resigned over poor performance. The government of Equatorial Guinea has resigned after failing to meet its developmental objective, according to Vice President Teodoro Obiang. Obiang, who is a son of President Teodoro Umbasogo, said the Prime Minister submitted the resignation of the entire cabinet after it achieved less than 10% of its targets. The statement from the ruling party said the president accused the government of encouraging corruption and failing to diversify the economy, particularly in the agricultural sector. Equatorial Guinea remains heavily dependent on oil and gas revenue. Despite its natural resources, wealth, poverty remains widespread among its population of about 1.8 million people, while the economy has faced a decline in oil production and demand in recent years. Still on the foreign scene, United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has announced a 6-month review of American military force in Europe, saying the future deployment of the U.S. troops will depend on how quickly European allies take greater responsibility for their own security. Speaking at a NATO meeting in Brussels, Hegseth said the review would assess whether the alliance was moving towards Europe taking primary responsibility for the defense of the continent. He also criticized some European allies for refusing to allow the U.S. force access the military base for operations against Iran, describing the decision as shameful. Hegseth said NATO members must do more to strengthen their defense capabilities and reduce dependency on the United States for Europe's security. Away from that and now to sport, Ghana opens their World Cup Group L campaign with a dramatic 1-0 victory over Panama in Toronto on Wednesday. The Black Stars secured all 3 points in added time as Caleb Yoriske bundled home a winning goal in the 5th minute of the stoppage time, sparking celebrations among Ghanaian supporters in the Canada's largest city. Both sides have struggled to create a clear-cut chance for much of the match. Panama's Cecilio Wortman tested Ghana's early, while Christian Martins came close in the second half when his effort struck the side netting. With the game seeming destined to end goalless, Yorensky late strike handed Ghana a hard fought over the victory in Group L. To end the iPower 102.7 FM Midday News, let us take another look at the main point. We told you in the course of the bulletin that INEC has commenced the distribution of sensitive materials for the Saturday's Ondo South Senatorial District by-elections, assuring stakeholders of its readiness to conduct a credible and transparent poll. We also informed you that the Court of Appeal in Abuja has struck out an appeal filed by the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC), seeking to overturn a federal high court judgment restraining it from imposing fines on radio and television stations. On the foreign scene, we informed you that United States Defense Secretary has announced a 6-month review of American military force in Europe, saying the future deployment of U.S. troops will depend on how quickly European allies take greater responsibility for